Hi, I'm Duke Nukem, and you're watching
Gia TV.
If it's one thing that Mortal Kombat has, it's a complicated backstory. And if it's something that DC Universe has, it's a complicated backstory. How do you bring those two together?
You know what? That's kind of the coolest part of the game, to be quite honest with you, and I'm really glad you asked that question. The DC Universe and the Mortal Kombat Universe, obviously, like you say, have complicated backstories. We actually employed two DC writers, Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti, who are kind of world-renowned in like the comic book community, who are also working along with John Vogel, Alexander Berentine, and John Greenberg on the Mortal Kombat side to kind of create a backstory of why these two universes are kind of together. So we're not like Marvel vs. Capcom, where it's just Akuma and Incredible Hulk fighting each other for no good reason. We actually kind of created a story of how these two universes got molded together. And in story mode in the game, you'll be able to see exactly why Batman is fighting Catwoman, or not Catwoman, Scorpion, and Kitana is fighting Wonder Woman and that kind of stuff. There's a reason why these two universes are kind of coming together, and it's really complex. There's multi-layers to it, and there's quite a few surprises throughout the story. So it makes sense, and when the players play it, they're going to want to know exactly what happens and continue through story mode to see what the climax is at the end.
Was it hard to deal with certain superpowers that the DC characters have? For example, Superman?
Yeah, we get that question a lot. Superman actually has two weaknesses. He's weakened by kryptonite, and he's also weakened by magic. And as you know, Mortal Kombat Universe is deeply, deeply entrenched in magic. Shang Tsung's a sorcerer. Queen Sindel is a witch. And so it kind of makes sense in the story mode to have Superman's powers weakened, and that's actually included in the story mode. There's a reason why all the fighters have been balanced, kind of, and are on a level playing field. There's a reason why Joker has the ability to fight, and there's a reason why Superman has the ability to not kill somebody in a single punch. So it'll all make sense throughout the course of the story mode.
Mortal Kombat's been around for a long, long time now. Do you think you had to bring something like DC in to, I don't know, refresh the series?
You know what? I don't know if we had to, but it's definitely a welcome addition. It's injected new life into the design team. This is the 8th Mortal Kombat, obviously, and after a while you kind of, not that you fall back to kind of your old vices, but we can't just do the over-the-top gore anymore. And this iteration, obviously because of the teen rating and working with Warner Brothers and DC, we couldn't just decapitate Batman, for a fatality, say for instance, or decapitate, Wonder Woman. So it's kind of made the design team to actually be even more creative, because we have to make our fatalities more bizarre and disturbing versus just over-the-top, gory and violent for the sake of being violent. As kind of Mortal Kombat has had kind of the reputation of doing the same things over and over. Now we have a limited amount of violence, so we have to make sure that the violence has the most impact when it's on the screen. We can't just have buckets and buckets of blood on the floor. We have to have a limited amount of blood, so we have to make sure that when you hit somebody, we have the right amount and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely breathed new life into the franchise, and at the same time, it's also inspired our creative team to come up with even gorier and even more disturbing kind of things for the next Mortal Kombat, because we're not allowed to do it in this one. So it's actually helped us out a lot.
But there's still a fair amount of blood. You've obviously come a long way since the Comic Code days.
Yeah, you know what? What we're going to do with the ratings is we're going to push it as far as possible and make them tell us what we need to take out. So we're definitely going to be the most bloodiest T-rated game in the history of video games.
How much input did you get from DC? How much say did they have? Because they're famous for being quite restrictive with their characters.
You know what? At first, when we were kind of talking about it back and forth, doing concept pitches back and forth, they were very adamant about protecting their brand, and as they should be. They have a reputation to uphold. They don't want Batman in any kind of compromising position. They don't want Superman in any compromising position. But we've been making video games for a really long time, and we kind of know what we're doing, especially when it comes to fighting games. So as we've been able to send them code, as they've been able to get review builds, as they've kind of seen our art, our concept art, they've kind of turned the page a little bit. And I would say there was a big point right around E3 after the public got their hands on the game the first time, where they were like, hey, you know what, you guys do know what you're doing, and they've kind of given us free reign. They've actually given us compliments about how well our character models look. They said they're the best character models that have ever been in a DC game, and we took that as a really big compliment. They've kind of given us more and more freedom. As long as we stay on brand and we don't violate any of their rules, they've kind of letting us do pretty much whatever we want with the characters. I mean, Jesus, Joker can shoot somebody in the head. I mean, you know, there's no other game where you can do that right now. So they're giving us a pretty good free reign.
All right. Thank you very much.
Hey, no problem, man. It's good talking with you.
Finish him! Excellent.